Ladies and gentlemen, let's drop the politeness for a moment and get real. The way a man approaches a woman's body, especially her most intimate parts, reveals more than just his bedroom habits. It speaks volumes about his respect for women, his understanding of health, and his ability to create genuine connection. When a man goes down on a woman, it isn't only about sex, it's about presence. It shows he values her pleasure as much as his own. It shows he is willing to invest time, effort, and vulnerability into intimacy rather than rushing to gratification. And that willingness, that's the difference between a partner and a performer. Now, let's talk science for a moment. Sexual health is not just about orgasm, it's about overall wellness. Urology teaches us that men who take the time to learn about women's anatomy, about lubrication, arousal, and the importance of clitoral stimulation are not only better lovers, they're healthier partners. They understand that intimacy is part of holistic well-being. For women, regular, pleasurable sex lowers stress, boosts immunity, and improves sleep. For men, understanding their partner's needs can lead to stronger emotional bonds and even healthier prostate function through frequent ejaculation and reduced sexual tension. But here's the deeper truth. When a man prioritizes a woman's pleasure, it's a declaration. It says, I am confident enough to give without fear, present enough to listen to her body, and mature enough to know that sex is about balance, not dominance. That's not just foreplay, that's character on display. So what does it really say about you? It says you're a man who values equality in the bedroom, a man who knows that intimacy is not a transaction, but a shared celebration of wellness, trust, and vulnerability. And let me tell you, women can feel the difference. My challenge to you today is simple. Stop treating sexual health like a taboo subject. Educate yourself. Learn anatomy. Talk openly with your partners. Prioritize not just your own release, but her pleasure, her health, her well-being. Because men who do that aren't just better lovers, they're better humans. So let's rewrite the script of masculinity. Let's raise a generation of men who understand that caring for women's sexual health is caring for humanity's wellness. The next time you think about what it means to go down on a woman, remember it's not just about what you're doing, it's about who you're choosing to be. When a man chooses to go down on a woman, he is doing far more than engaging in a sexual act. He is stepping into a space where ego must be set aside, and attentiveness takes the lead. Oral sex requires patience, focus, and the kind of intimacy that forces both partners to slow down and be present. It demands that he recognize her pleasure as equal, if not greater, in importance to his own. This willingness to prioritize her experience speaks louder than any words of affection. It tells her in no uncertain terms that he values her body, her satisfaction, and her right to enjoy herself fully. Respect in sex is not abstract. It is demonstrated in the ways a man chooses to act when no one is keeping score. A man who takes his time, explores with curiosity, and shows genuine enthusiasm while going down on a woman is sending a powerful message. Your body matters to me. Your pleasure matters to me. And I am here to serve, not just to take. That kind of intentionality is rare because it requires letting go of selfishness. Too many men are conditioned to think that sex is about their performance, their penetration, their climax. But when he willingly shifts the spotlight onto her, he is proving that his masculinity is not fragile. It is not threatened by generosity. Instead, his masculinity is strong enough to hold space for her enjoyment, making her climax a priority rather than an afterthought. Respect in this sense is about recognition. It is about understanding that a woman's body is not something to be rushed through, but a landscape to be appreciated and savored. Every woman is different. Her rhythms, her sensitivities, her needs. A man who takes oral sex seriously understands that there is no universal shortcut, no one-size-fits-all trick. He listens, he adjusts, and he learns. This is not about showing off. It is about tuning into her responses and letting them guide the experience. Such attentiveness can only come from a place of deep respect, the kind of respect that acknowledges her individuality rather than treating her as just another body in bed. What separates the men who truly respect women during intimacy from those who don't is the willingness to be vulnerable. Going down on a woman places him in a position of giving without immediate return, of offering pleasure without expecting control. That is where respect shines. It takes courage to put aside the rush for self-satisfaction and instead immerse oneself in the act of giving. It is not just a service, it is a statement of equality. In a world where so much of sex has been taught through the lens of male gratification, a man who embraces oral sex as an act of respect disrupts that narrative. He redefines sex as mutual, layered, and reciprocal, where her joy is not optional but central. The truth about female pleasure is that it begins and ends with the clitoris, and ignoring this fact is one of the greatest mistakes a man can make in the bedroom. The clitoris is not some small accessory to sex. It is the powerhouse of female arousal, designed solely for pleasure with over 8,000 nerve endings concentrated in one spot. Yet many men bypass it, focusing instead on penetration as if that alone could unlock the heights of her orgasm. A man who neglects the clitoris is essentially disregarding a woman's biology, and no amount of thrusting or stamina can make up for that absence. Mastery of oral sex begins with honoring this truth, because without direct attention to her most sensitive organ, the chances of her reaching orgasm are drastically reduced. When a man takes the time to explore the clitoris with his mouth, tongue, and lips, he is entering the realm of true sexual skill. This is where patience, rhythm, and attentiveness make all the difference. Every woman's clitoris is unique in sensitivity, which means what feels incredible for one may feel overwhelming for another. That is why the act requires not just technique but intuition. A man who observes her breath, the arch of her back, the way her hips respond, and who adapts to those cues is proving he is not there to perform but to connect. This is not about routine or mechanical motion. It is about the art of discovery, about attuning to her responses as they shift moment to moment. Ignoring the clitoris often comes from ego or ignorance, both of which betray immaturity in a lover. Men who think penetration alone is enough reveal that they have not educated themselves about women's bodies, and worse, that they may not care enough to learn. Sexual confidence does not come from pretending to know. It comes from curiosity and from the courage to ask, explore, and adjust. The man who embraces clitoral stimulation demonstrates a higher level of awareness, one that acknowledges women's anatomy as deserving of full attention. He proves that his desire is not just to take pleasure but to give it, to ensure that her orgasm is not left to chance. This separates amateurs from masters, because only a master respects the organ that holds the key to her satisfaction. The most unforgettable lovers are those who do not treat the clitoris as a side note, but as the center stage. They understand that women are wired differently, that penetration is only part of the story, and that most women cannot orgasm without direct clitoral stimulation. This knowledge is not trivial, it is transformative. It turns sex from something mechanical into something transcendent, where her climax is as much a goal as his. A man who devotes his mouth to the clitoris is making an unspoken promise that her needs, her pleasure, her orgasm will be pursued with dedication and respect. This is what makes sex not just an act of physical union, but an act of intimacy, artistry, and devotion. Confidence in the bedroom is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs, and nowhere is this more obvious than when a man goes down on a woman without hesitation. The act itself requires vulnerability, but it also demands boldness, a kind of fearless energy that reassures her that he knows what he is doing and is eager to please. When a man dives into oral sex with enthusiasm instead of awkwardness, he immediately communicates that he is secure in his masculinity. He is not worried about being judged, not second-guessing whether it makes him look weak, but instead proving that his strength lies in his ability to embrace intimacy head-on. That confidence doesn't just make him more attractive, it makes her body respond with trust, arousal, and surrender. A hesitant lover, on the other hand, creates tension rather than relaxation. When a man seems unsure, hesitant, or half-hearted in the act, it signals self-doubt, and self-doubt is contagious. A woman cannot fully release herself into pleasure when she feels he is holding back, because she becomes conscious of his discomfort rather than her own sensations. Confidence, however, dissolves those barriers. A man who knows how to use his tongue with certainty, who presses his mouth against her like he belongs there, allows her to let go completely. His boldness frees her to immerse herself in the experience, to stop thinking about whether she is taking too long or whether she tastes right, and instead to surrender fully to her pleasure. True confidence in oral sex is not about rushing or being aggressive. It is about control without force. It is the ability to move with rhythm, to pace himself, and to trust that he can lead her body toward climax without needing shortcuts. It's the calmness in his movements, the steadiness of his tongue, the way he can shift pressure without breaking the flow. This kind of confidence shows mastery, but it also shows presence. He is not just going through motions, he is immersed in her responses, adjusting with certainty. Women feel that groundedness instantly, and it makes them crave more because they know he won't get lost in insecurity midway through the act. What makes this confidence so powerful is that it transforms oral sex into something primal yet deeply intimate. When a man devours her with no shame, he is demonstrating that he is not afraid of closeness, not afraid of her rawness, and not afraid of the vulnerability that comes with being between her thighs. It's not about dominance or submission, it's about authenticity. The woman feels desired, celebrated, and completely accepted in her natural state. That acceptance amplifies her arousal because she knows she does not have to perform, hide, or hold back. His confidence gives her permission to feel everything, to open herself fully, and to reach levels of pleasure she might never have experienced with a man who lacked that same fearlessness. Sexual health is far more than the mechanics of intercourse. It is a vital part of overall well-being, and oral sex plays a role that is often overlooked. When a man takes the time to please a woman with his mouth, he is not just enhancing her arousal, he is actively contributing to her health. Female orgasm releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which lowers stress and deepens emotional connection. It also boosts serotonin and dopamine, the very chemicals that regulate mood and combat anxiety. A man who commits to oral sex with care and intention is not simply offering pleasure, he is participating in her wellness, supporting her body's natural rhythms in ways that ripple far beyond the bedroom. The connection between sexual satisfaction and sleep is undeniable. When a woman experiences a powerful orgasm, especially one that comes from dedicated clitoral stimulation through oral sex, her body releases prolactin, a hormone directly linked to relaxation and better rest. This is not only about feeling good in the moment, but about improving her ability to recover physically and mentally. Good sleep enhances immune function, cognitive sharpness, and energy levels during the day. A man who understands this is not just a lover but a partner in her health. He recognizes that his presence between her thighs is not only about erotic excitement, but also about nurturing her body's ability to restore and replenish. Stress reduction is another hidden benefit of oral sex done well. In today's fast-paced world, women often carry the weight of daily responsibilities, and their nervous systems remain in overdrive. Intimate, focused oral pleasure allows the body to shift out of stress and into calm through the parasympathetic nervous system. Her breathing slows, her muscles soften, and her body begins to let go of accumulated tension. This is why oral sex, when performed with genuine intention, becomes a kind of therapy. It is not only indulgence but release, not only sexual but medicinal. A man who recognizes this sees oral sex as more than foreplay. It is a holistic act of care. For men, the act of giving pleasure has its own wellness benefits. Frequent sexual activity, including oral sex, has been linked to healthier prostate function, stronger immune response, and even lower risk of cardiovascular disease. The physical arousal and ejaculation that often follow create balance in his own system, but what elevates the experience is the emotional return. Knowing he has satisfied his partner, that he has contributed to her health and happiness, strengthens his own confidence and lowers his stress. This reciprocity makes sex a cycle of wellness, where both partners benefit physically, emotionally, and mentally. Sexual health is therefore inseparable from general health, and men who master oral sex are not only great lovers, but silent healers in ways they may not even fully realize. The difference between an average lover and an extraordinary one lies in understanding that sex is not a performance but a partnership. Too many men enter intimacy with the mindset that sex is about showing off skills, proving stamina, or delivering some cinematic display of dominance. But real passion is not scripted, and real connection cannot be faked. Oral sex especially demands presence rather than performance. It is not about putting on a show, it is about entering into dialogue with her body. Every breath, every moan, every subtle movement is a message, and the man who listens to those messages is the one who transforms the act into something far greater than just stimulation. When a man treats sex as performance, he is focused on himself, how he looks, how he sounds, how well he is doing. This kind of self-conscious energy creates a barrier because instead of truly engaging with her, he is stuck in his head. But when he shifts into the mindset of partnership, everything changes. He begins to pay attention to how she arches her back, the way her thighs press closer to his face, or how her breathing deepens. These are signals guiding him toward what she craves most. This is where skill meets empathy. Oral sex becomes a feedback loop. She responds, he adjusts, she grows louder, he intensifies. The cycle continues, not because he is trying to perform, but because he is in tune. Partnership in oral sex also means patience. Women's bodies rarely respond on command, and their arousal can build slowly before it erupts. A man who sees intimacy as a partnership knows that rushing breaks the spell. He understands that her climax is not something to be forced, but something to be nurtured. He lingers when needed, softens his touch when she grows too sensitive, and then returns with precision when she is ready for more. This requires intuition, but also humility. It shows he respects her pace rather than pushing her into his rhythm. True satisfaction lies in synchronization, and when both partners move together, orgasms become not just inevitable but explosive. The man who embodies this kind of partnership during oral sex creates trust. She knows he is not using her body to boost his ego, but is instead engaging with her as an equal. This shifts the entire dynamic of their intimacy. She does not feel pressured to respond quickly, nor does she feel objectified. Instead, she feels valued, desired, and free to express her pleasure authentically. That freedom allows her to let go of inhibitions, to moan loudly, to grind against his mouth, to lose herself in sensation without fear of judgment. And when she feels safe to unleash her rawest pleasure, the connection between them becomes unforgettable. This is the essence of partnership. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present together, body to body, moment to moment. A man's sexual skill set is more than just a collection of techniques. It is a reflection of his legacy as a lover. The way he touches, the way he uses his tongue, the way he devotes himself to her orgasm all leave lasting imprints on a woman's memory. Women rarely remember the number of thrusts or the positions used, but they always remember how a man made them feel. Oral sex, in particular, becomes a defining marker of his reputation because it shows whether he was selfless enough to give or selfish enough to take. A man who invests time and effort in perfecting this craft is remembered not for fleeting passion, but for unforgettable connection. His legacy is written in the way she still thinks of his mouth years later. There is an art to giving oral sex that separates the forgettable from the legendary. A man who only goes through the motions might be technically adequate, but adequacy does not linger in the mind. What lingers is intensity, dedication, and artistry. Did he savor her like a delicacy? Did he explore her body with curiosity and patience? Did he listen when she moaned and press closer? Or did he rush toward an ending? These details are what cement him in her memory. Women crave more than mechanics. They crave a lover who makes them feel consumed, worshipped, and desired in their rawest form. That kind of experience is what defines a man's legacy far beyond the bedroom. The unforgettable lovers are the ones who master not just technique but presence. A flick of the tongue, the right rhythm, the steady pressure, these things matter, but what amplifies them is the man's energy. If he is fully immersed in her, if his focus is singular and undistracted, she feels it. That immersion turns the act into something electric. He is not thinking about himself, not worried about time, not distracted by ego. He is fully devoted to her climax. This level of focus creates intensity, and intensity creates memory. The legacy of a skilled lover is not measured by how many women he has been with, but by how deeply he marked the women he did touch. A man who neglects oral sex or treats it as optional will never reach that status. He may satisfy temporarily, but he will not be remembered as exceptional. To build a legacy, he must understand that his mouth, his tongue, and his patience are his greatest tools. Every swirl, every tease, every pause before a burst of pressure writes itself into her nervous system. Her body holds onto that imprint, and so does her mind. This is why some women will quietly admit that one lover stood above all the rest, not because he was the most experienced, but because he was the most giving, the most attentive, and the most fearless in making her orgasm the centerpiece of their intimacy. That is the true hallmark of a man whose sexual skill set defines his legacy.